Thousands of crime prevention wardens or peace officers were expected to begin work today to protect residents and to fight crime in townships, informal settlements and hostels following a 4-month training process. The announcement made by Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi about his crime-busting unit includes the deployment of thousands of panic buttons linked to law enforcement to tackle crime across the province and to promote visible safety. The plan came with a 450 million rand price tag and 200 German vehicles fitted with, quote, the necessary technology for the warders to use. A passing out parade for the participants took place yesterday. Let's talk now to Gauteng Community Policing Board Chair TJ Masalela about the plans and the deployment of the warders across the province. TJ, good afternoon to you and welcome. It's an ambitious plan. What do you make of it now that the plan has come to fruition, so to speak?
Well, it's an effort to fight crime, and thank you very much for the opportunity. And one will welcome any initiative that will reduce but have an impact in the fight against crime. So it's obviously the return on investment based on the impact will be reviewed at a later stage. But welcome that. Welcome more people to become conscious, but also more people to participate in the crime fighting.
Well, let's get to the preparedness of the candidates. They're going to be armed. They will have access to vehicles and radios. From what the Premier has said, they've been trained in various aspects of the law, including constitutional law, criminal law, the Criminal Procedure Act. They've been trained in crowd management and other skills. As you look at the timing of the training and the content itself, is this enough to prepare these peace officers for the role they're about to embark on?
Fighting crime will never be enough in terms of training. I think we learn almost every day new trends, new ways. I mean, you would agree with me that the e-policing, it's one of the latest mechanisms to try and fight crime. So it's an ongoing project from where I'm sitting and from where we looking at these force multipliers. But you can't do nothing and sit and say, oh, well, this is where we are. We can have to live with what we have. So it's ongoing project to me and to those that one represent. We are looking at 12 months to close to 2 years to have a final product that you will then be able to say, okay, fine, this is now a ripe warden or even a police officer for that matter. It takes almost a year or so to have those trainees to be fully functional. But having said that, the visibility alone, you'd be shocked how much visibility will do in especially in these areas that have been identified as tish areas.
Yeah, one would say, and this is the argument, right, for visibility, that it can be quite an effective crime deterrent. But when you share as you have now that it takes police individuals who have more qualifications and more training, sometimes a year to be able to complete what these these participants and these wardens now have had to accomplish in a space of 4 months with almost the same type of capacity. I mean, they will be bearing arms. It doesn't sound as if they've been given enough preparation, from what I'm hearing.
What does it take? The question will be also at the same time, what does it take to train a security guard? First of all, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, at times 6 weeks, and armed with the firearms and so forth. So, like I said, it's an ongoing process. You will have to look at this at a certain point in time and review this. What do you want to do it, content and so forth? What I can say and what I know for the fact that we happen to be so quick in our evaluation even before the match starts, and I think that should be a little bit unfair. I just made an example with a security guard, a simple security guard who have never. And I stay in a state, a security estate, so I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and I think it's a fair point you make around, when you bring in, the concept of security guards, and the time that they have for their training, and then also equipped with these high caliber weapons. Let me bring in Ian Cameron, who's with Action SA Community Safety Director. Ian, good evening to you and welcome to the program. TJ's kicked us off with saying it's too soon to judge the program, and this is going to have at least a positive impact. Police do need this reinforcement. It's going to give communities a higher level of feeling safe and a resource that they can go to. I'd like your assessment of the plan.
Good evening, TJ, and thank you very much. I agree with TJ. I don't think one should judge it too quickly. I mean, I'll share what my possible concerns are now. But from our side, we obviously welcome any positive initiative to combat crime. So that's point number one. We know that we are in a dire situation in South Africa with regards to violent crime. And I think we should welcome any initiative that can help combat that. What my worries potentially are, I hear what TJ says regarding security guards, and I agree with him to a certain extent. And I know it was just an example, but considering something like cash in transit heists, which is something that Premier Lesufi said is something that these wardens would have to try and help combat. It's very difficult to do such a specialized task with such a limited amount of knowledge and experience. That being said, I think it's positive that there's already a sense of cooperation with traffic police in Gauteng and obviously the SABC. What I might have done differently, I would have said, how can we strengthen the existing law enforcement initiatives that there already are? I think it could be a little bit of a kind of a political competition or competing process compared to the Western Cape's law enforcement advancement program. And then lastly, I would be worried seeing a whole lot of young people suddenly armed, not because they're young, but armed to the teeth with high-performance vehicles that don't necessarily have the experience to do them. And then very lastly, sorry, I have to say this, they don't have a central command center yet, which was something that was very prominently mentioned. They said they have a number to call. Now, that's a problem in itself. It's like opening or appointing a whole lot of petrol attendants, but without a petrol garage. And from what we're seeing on the screen now, they don't seem fit for purpose. I don't want to offend them. I welcome initiatives, but it doesn't look well organized.
TJ, I'm going to ask you to come back in there just to make a point and a response, Ian, or a comment in response to what you said about looking to the Western Cape and what they're doing there. You know, citizens will say, look, I don't care which province is competing with which. If they're competing in good works and it means that there'll be more bodies on the street to take care of our safety and security, then that kind of competition can be welcomed. But on the concerns that you're raising about not having, a centralized command, and I want to throw in there, TJ, the question of liability. Something goes wrong, and as a result of the program, or as a result of some of the criticisms being made about inadequate or not being up to the task at hand. How do you think these points and these considerations should be managed?
No, thanks. Hi, Ian. Importantly is that the joint operation centers, I don't think you will have a separate one even at later stage. I think what you're trying to integrate now, and that's one other thing that we've been advocating, to have a dashboard of a kind of a joint operation center where everything will come there, including the security companies, including the community patrollers, including all those neighborhood watches that are in the fight against crime. You need some kind of a dashboard so that you can link all these joint operations instead of maybe building new operations. I agree with Ian to say, look, could have been done differently if one is given an opportunity. But look, you have to do something. That is what I'm saying. And I'm saying, let's see all these questions in 3 months' time that we are asking now, that we don't have certain and we cannot have killer answers. We might be able to. And with regards to firearms and all that, another thing is that I don't think, we must separate sometimes an address by a very ambitious and very hardworking person. At times you would say certain things, but me and you will know that the process takes a little bit of time. into try and train a person to be an expert, or should I say, be able to use the tools that have all been given.
Yeah.
And
TJ, if I can just pick up on that point, and you've been very careful, if I'm listening to the way you've been answering the questions, in being very careful about the types of words that you use, and you're talking about the enthusiasm of the Premier versus, that this process will take time. It sounds like you're hedging your bets a little bit. Would you have liked to have seen the preparation process take a little bit longer? And, in your role, in terms of the way CPF's working, you have a lot of experience about how community members, are transformed into becoming, members of the community that are responsible for certain aspects of law enforcement.
Well, definitely, I would have liked to see the training taking a little bit longer, and obviously cover all the angles that needs to be covered. Also, with regards to maybe the vehicles and so forth, I would have liked to see maybe lesser high-performance cars, which are also available in the market. But that is obviously, as human beings, I think we will have different preferences. Taxpayers' money, yes, you can be able to have a say in that. And look, I'm not beating about the bush to say that the long training will always give, but also on-job training, if that is part of the deal, also could also help, because that becomes a practical. So yes, I'm not just being cautious, but I'm just being excited to have more people on the ground, and so that one can be able to assess and do oversight.
Ian, did we pay too much? Last question.
Absolutely. 450 million rand could have been put straight into metro provincial law enforcement. We've seen how it works elsewhere. You know what I would have done? I would have said, let's take this to whether it's a court of law, to Parliament, etc., and see how we can implement investigative powers in current Metro Police and provincial law enforcement and provincial traffic. We need more detectives. We don't just need more boots on the ground. Everyone talks boots on the ground, but boots on the ground doesn't create depth. It creates prevention just to a short extent. It's not a long-term solution. So we want that, and we would love to see this gain some depth. I obviously hope it works, but I must be honest, I'm very, very cautious. Nothing Lesotho has touched in the last 10 years was a success, so I don't see how this will be different.